Whew. We got a lot to talk about today, guys. We got a lot to talk about today. We got to talk about Bobby leaving Activision. Huge thing that's going down. They're restructuring a little bit going down there. We'll get into that here in a moment. And we got to talk about next gen. I know. It seems crazy talking about next gen already, but we got to talk about it because a lot of people are talking about it, and I felt like I wanted to give my perspective on this particular thing. What's going on, you guys? Appreciate you guys for coming back to another video. Bobby's leaving. There's a lot of speculation going on whether or not Bobby would actually leave once this deal was done through. And I was even, kind of up in the air if he would leave myself because of just like the way he was, moving around. Some of the interviews, I felt like they were referring to him as going to be there longer than implied. But he's officially stepping down, I believe, the 29th of December. So most likely, after they come back from the holidays, he's not going to be there. 2 months. Let's read a little bit on the Windows Central. I'll put the link in the description. What you need to know: 2 months after Microsoft successfully completed its $69 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard King, CEO Bobby Kotick, probably butchered that, I'm sure you guys will correct me if I did, is stepping down from ABK on December 29, 2023. A new internal memo from Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer, who's that, reveals that moving forward, top Activision Blizzard King executives will report to Microsoft Gaming President of content of game content and studio Matt Booty. It seems like they just be coming up with names for these positions. Other chief ABK officers will answer to Microsoft Gaming executives to continue to help with the transition through March of 2024, at which point they will presumably depart for the firm as well. Human Sakanzi, I butchered the hell out of that. Blizzard and King Vice Chair, and Lulu, that's the chick that's always on Twitter, ABK Corporate Affairs, are also leaving at the end of December and January, respectively, with the latter helping ABK Communications move to new leadership under communications led by Kara. 2 months after Microsoft successfully closed its ABK, the video giant Activision Blizzard King for Xbox, its CEO Bobby is leaving the company on December 29th, 2023. It's crazy that Lulu's leaving. She was going pretty hardcore in the paint there for a while. It would make sense. I think we can all agree that these people want that bag. And that bag is, I'm assuming, is going to be magnificent. Like chef's kiss. I'm sure these people cashing in their shares, it's they're going to buy an island somewhere. Lulu fought hardcore so she could early retirement, man. She gonna be on a beach side in the Bahamas, drinking on a martini or whatever people like to drink on the beach. I don't know what people drink on the beach. I don't drink, but I'm sure they are leaving the company with a big bags, so many bags that they have to drive it in an SUV. Shout out to them. I'm glad they're getting rid of Bobby. I do feel like the stuff that went down there, you can't have that type of leadership anymore. It didn't even matter if Bobby was innocent, and most likely that man was not innocent. He knew to some degree or was in hand of everything going on there. So you can't continue on with the behavior that was going on there with someone that was there. I'm surprised they didn't get rid of the whole leadership. Stuff as drastic as that, usually they just recasting everyone. We ain't playing. But, they are keeping, for the bulk of it, they're keeping everyone intact. It's interesting Matt Booty is going to be over that, too, because we saw him over the ZeniMax thing where they answer to him. And it's also looked like he's being over the Activision thing. So they'll be talking to him as well. So, to me, it's like, are they putting too much work on Matt Booty? I don't know. Put in the description below if you guys think that. Part of me thinks they might be putting a little bit too much work into Matt Booty. Maybe he needs a little help. I do know that he's technically still over like the studios of Xbox, and I think that should be passed on to Sarah Bond because she's over that, just not the software. I don't know. People get me confused on the wording that they used when they was announcing those leadership changes. But anyway, if you guys know the correct, I think I do. Supposedly Sarah Bond is still in charge of like the no, Matt Booty's still in charge of like doing pretty much going to all these studios, making sure everyone's up to date. And, Sarah Bond's in charge of like the overall growth of Xbox. Maybe, it was some misinterpretation or maybe the bad communication between me and when I was reading that. I don't know. Put in the comment section below if I got it right. All right. I don't know. I hope I did. But anyway, let's talk about next gen. Next gen is coming here relatively soon. 2026 has been reported. Now, obviously, next year in 2024 is supposed to be the PlayStation 5 Pro. So it is kind of interesting that 2 years after that you'll get an Xbox Series 2 or whatever they want to call it. I don't really know the words that they're going to use. The terminology for this stuff always changes. You had the Xbox One, Xbox 360, Xbox One again. Well, I guess technically you would call Xbox, then Xbox 360, then Xbox One, and now you got the Xbox Series S and X, and the sales wise isn't doing the greatest in terms of how many units they're pushing out there, and I think a lot of that has to do with just the general combination of the pandemic hit plus Xbox in terms of games that's only on the platform, because I've always said timed exclusives and exclusives, they matter because it gives value to the Xbox. What's value to you and what's value to Xbox is two entirely different things. And especially when it comes to the Game Pass. What's good for Game Pass might not necessarily be good for Xbox in general, or vice versa. Game Pass would be fine just getting a lot of these games on the system day and date, but it doesn't give a whole lot of, exclusive access, I would say, or value in general to the Xbox platform. Call of Duty would be a heavy hitter to make exclusive, but they can't do that because of the court hearings and the contracts they made. So, it's going into Game Pass most likely. 100% going into Game Pass. I don't know why I said most likely. So, right there, that's an example. Call of Duty going into Game Pass is good for Game Pass, and it's good for Xbox, but it would be best for both of them if they were exclusive. Now, you can flip that around too. Is it good for Call of Duty to be exclusive? Because I think that's a fair argument. When it comes down to the 2026, it's a relatively close date. We got the new consoles like 2020, 2021. So we're really like 5-6 year of a generation. I don't know how long the generation was for like the typical generation. I think it's like 8 years, and I think that's on the higher end. I believe last gen and the 360 were typically longer generations that we're normally used to. So, maybe that's self-correcting itself now. Like we're going to be moving on to newer and newer hardwares quicker. The point that I'm like a little curious on is, let's say that the PlayStation 5 Pro does come out next year. Xbox doesn't respond to anything. They just go on to the next generation 2 years later or 3 years. Maybe it'll get pushed back. I don't know. So they go out in 2026. PlayStation is put in a weird predicament because it's like, we just sold this PlayStation 5 Pro, and do we let Microsoft release maybe a year to maybe even 2 years their next console ahead of schedule? Because to me, putting out a PlayStation 5 Pro for just 2 years is going to be a bad look in terms of your consumer just invested into a mid-generation console at that point might not have taken advantage too many games, because we're only talking like a span of 2 years. That's not a long time, especially in the world of developing these games, in the world of marketing these games and them releasing. That's not a lot of time. So I'm kind of curious on what kind of situation that puts PlayStation in. Do they just say, you spent this kind of money because you wanted a better experience, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to support it for the foreseeable future. I do think they'll support it after the PS6 comes out, but I'm kind of curious. In my perspective, is at that point, because they put so much money into the PlayStation 5 Pro, and because there's so many consumers that would be upset if this system wasn't taken advantage of, does that mean that they won't, go full blown into next gen, and we'll have a similar situation that happened this year? And maybe you guys can, agree with me or disagree with me. I'll definitely put in the comment section. But I think that's one of the reasons that, especially PlayStation and Xbox, mainly PlayStation, because I would say Xbox cut the cord a little sooner than PlayStation, but they were definitely supporting both platforms, the PlayStation 4 and the 5 in the series, the Xbox One and the series consoles. I think that's the reason you saw that a lot, because they put those mid-generation consoles and they wanted to make sure that the consumer got plenty of play with those new platforms. So it's like I said, I'm very curious to see what happens if this does come out in 2026. As far as my standpoint, like, look, I personally think that's around the standard of what we used to get back in the day. So, maybe development costs, that would be a little bit difficult to constantly be switching every 6 or 7 years. Because to me, some studios take that amount of time making one game. So they're having to switch, dev kits midway through their next game. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Tell me what you guys feel about a new platform coming out for Xbox in 2026 and potentially PlayStation. Because like I said, I don't know if they would just let Xbox stay around with the new hot console on the market for like a whole year. That's one of the reasons why they got so far ahead in the 360 era. I don't know if they would take that risk again. But put in the comment section below what you guys feel. I appreciate everyone for supporting me, man. You guys have been showing love. Definitely hit that like button if you guys enjoyed the video. You can always sub to this channel, do weekly content, and appreciate everyone for coming through, man. This is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace. This week has been crazy on news.